We're doing eugenics in Silicon Valley?
I think at first it can sound like it's scary, right? Like you can predict intelligence from DNA. You can predict, height from DNA. Height is maybe more obvious. I mean, people can look at their siblings and be like, well, my brother is like 4 inches taller than me.
What's that joke? It's like eugenics is a terrible idea. Everyone's just going to try to like establish a lineage of big dicks, you know? You can't go fiddling about with your own genetics like that. Now, I was born with a genetic condition that has left me blind. So obviously, if I could go back, I would change my own genetics to give me a bigger dick.
Just if you think about that for a second, potentially, if your parents had been using nucleus, they would have not selected your embryo.
My mom said she wanted a taller boy.
But does that not give
That's very weird. That's pretty weird.
you pause as you think about the lives that will not exist as people optimize for things, not realizing they're losing a Keon in the process?
No, first off, Keon would have still been made, because remember that even if you optimize by an inch or 2 inches, you're not actually changing most of my DNA.
You said 4 inches.
Okay, 4 inches, sure. If a parent has a couple embryos and they want to have a taller child, I think that is absolutely their right and their choice.
Once again, like wheeling back to my take that all of these people are incredibly stupid. The problem with eugenics, sorry, in this context, I mean, not forced breeding, but in terms of like egg selection or whatever the problem with eugenics isn't like, wouldn't it be bad if everyone was tall? The problem is you're creating like a class strata where in the long run, for one, all people are now reducible down to their biological attributes. We no longer appreciate like the diversity in people. A person who is short is a mistake, not just like there is freedom in knowing that sometimes you're just genetically on a thing. Like if you're short, you're just short, dog. You didn't fuck up or fail. No one failed you or whatever. It's just how it is sometimes, you know? That's fine. That's life. That's good. You know, your life isn't worse because you're short, like mechanically or whatever. I guess you can't reach the tall shelves as easily, but for the most part, it's just like a social thing. But it would only get worse. Like the stigma to being a short guy is going to get a hell of a lot worse when you can buy your way out of it, you know? 8 inches might be average now, but in a world where the average is like 12 inches and being 8 inches is like a mistake, you know, now 8 inches isn't going to please. Like as it is now, women will pretend to feel 8 inches, but, you know, they're not even going to pretend in this future.
Keon, I think we're onto something here. Like, does it not give you pause knowing that within your own family, if your parents had sought to optimize for height, understanding it's not a perfect science and not destiny, if they had done that, potentially someone like yourself would have been overlooked at the embryo stage?
No, you know, the embryos that you have are still based off my mom and my dad's.
I guess it's one thing that's good in terms of the whole creating a genetic elite thing is that there's no way to genetically select for more intelligent children. There are no isolated genes that influence intelligence. You might be able to like get rid of some genetic conditions, or maybe there's like, oh well, we took out the Down syndrome lump that was in your sperm cell, whatever fucking, you know, you can. There's a couple of like edge case stuff you can select for, but there's no way to genetically influence the intelligence of a of an egg or a sperm cell or whatever, because intelligence is an extremely multivariate thing. In spite of the efforts of many racial scientists, you can control height with a couple of genes. There's stuff like skin tone, nose shape, size, eyebrows, whatever. Relatively easy to adjust. And even that's tough. I mean, you're still kind of gambling a bit. But for intelligence, nah. We'll get there eventually with intelligence. You know, I genuinely don't know if we will. Because I think the inconvenient thing for the eugenicists is that intelligence is actually much more nurture than it is nature once you get rid of the big ones. Like, assuming that there are no serious debilitating characteristics, like you know, like Down syndrome being an example, right? But stuff like that. Once you remove like the big obvious ones, and then everyone gets the same education, everyone gets fed enough, you're not malnourished or whatever, I think that like at the end of the day, your intelligence is overwhelmingly nurture, not nature. Obviously for stuff like height or skin tone, it's pretty much all nature. But yeah, I don't know if you could really select for higher intelligence for, you know, in a eugenics sense. I'm not really sure if you could. It doesn't even, dude, it doesn't even work when you do regular eugenics. Like between people fucking. Because if you have two smart people having a kid, there's not really any guarantee that kid will be smart. Usually it's just they benefit from the higher education that they get because they're born into a family where, well, both of my parents are educated, so they're going to value education more, and you're more likely to go to a better school. But I don't think there's been much of a demonstrated correlation for like the intelligence of parents to the intelligence of children once you normalize for factors like education, you know? I just think we're too complicated. We're just too complicated for that. I'm sure there's some correlation. I'm sure there's some. Good parenting was found to have a far bigger impact on intelligence than genes. I don't think there's no correlation. I don't think there's nothing genetic. That'd be ridiculous, of course, but genes don't work with this on-off switch anyways. Yeah, no. Also, intelligence doesn't really correlate that well to success in life anyway. Success in life mostly comes down to energy, social attainment, ability to read a room, you know, that kind of stuff. It's not like being a, you know, autodidact math savant is going to help you out in most cases. Autodidactic? Is that autodidactic?
DNA, right? So the embryo's DNA between them, they're not that different between each other. It's not like one embryo, for example, is 5 feet and one's like 7 feet, right? That's not how this is. You are picking from basically already existing embryos that are from mom and dad's DNA. So they're combinations already of life.
Brilliant stuff, really. Who is this person? CBS Mornings? Okay, I see. Hold on. CBS Mornings. God damn it, my keyboard. No! CBS Mornings embryo height. New embryo testing company says it can predict lifespan, height, and IQ. Okay, I think it's from this.
Incredible insights into the traits of their future children. Families can not only screen for the likelihood of disease, but also pick embryos based on their expected height and IQ. Brooke Silva Braga got special access to Heresight, a company pushing the scientific and ethical limits of embryo selection. Brooke, good morning.
Good morning. Well, this process involves a couple using IVF to create embryos in a lab, then analyzing the embryo's DNA before picking which one to implant. Heresight says it's offered their service to about 80 couples over the last 2 years while in stealth mode. Now they're open to the public with hopes of making humanity healthier and smarter.
Oh, is this not it?
I'm excited.
Yeah, me too.
I was getting up by a mustache hair that was poking my upper lip. I have to trim that.
We were there as
Diabetes.
tell you which one to implant.
27 employees, most of whom work from home.
Isn't it so creepy? Like controlling parents are already a problem. This is that on steroids. It's super creepy, yeah. Super creepy.
It's interesting and seems maybe not coincidental that this isn't some big pharma company doing this. It's, I don't know if you'd be insulted by the phrase ragtag, but it's like literally a couple dozen people without a big office.
That's exactly right. We hired the best people we could find in their positions who are also willing to put everything on the line for this, because
What does that mean, put everything on the line?
this is considered controversial among some people, not everyone certainly, but if you
Yeah, whatever, man. I don't believe in that shit.